wherever in the world you are. You're watching The Full 100, TFH. Today is the 4th of May, 2020. And the topic of the day, guys, is we're homeschooling baby Trump. Are we ready for this? Let's get to it. Right. Trump, listen, as you get called in school, you get called your surname. So Trump, I know you want to be the greatest president that ever existed. I know you want to be the tallest president that there ever was. I know you want to be the fastest president there ever was, the smartest one, the sharpest one, the strongest one. I know this is how you see yourself, Mr. Trump. However, you're the only one who sees yourself that way. Everyone else thinks you're dumb. So here, I've got 5 tips for you that's sure to lead you to greatness. Shall we start? Okay. First tip, Trump, is take notes and pay attention during briefings. I've heard lots of talk that you never pay attention, Donald. I've heard talk you stroll into the briefing rooms, you don't take notes, and it causes a lot of harm for you, Trump. Have a look at some videos of what's happened because you are not paying attention.
In the last 6 weeks, more Americans have died of coronavirus than were killed in the Vietnam War, while 30 million people have lost their jobs. Talk about American carnage. But the president's son-in-law thinks they all deserve a trophy.
And this is a great success story, and I think that's really, what needs to be told.
But that wasn't the worst. It's now, of course, much worse, with federal debt projected to exceed 100% of GDP. Then there's this fact. States can't declare bankruptcy under federal law. They can only default. It's not like Trump's businesses declared bankruptcy after making bad bets in Atlantic City, which is probably why Governor Cuomo called it.
It's a really dumb idea.
And Speaker Nancy Pelosi said,
he's making it look like there's some blue state, red state thing here. Everybody is united in saying, in order for us to survive, we need to have these resources, and they will.
Still, the nation is moving forward with a staggered and uneven approach to reopening. In Texas, the governor announcing an expansive reopening plan that begins this Friday. First to open there, retail stores, restaurants, movie theaters, and malls, all at a 25% capacity. Meanwhile, their neighbor, Louisiana, is extending their stay-at-home orders through May 15th. And there's this new national poll by the Washington Post and University of Maryland that shows that 66% of people think these state-imposed restrictions on businesses are appropriate. Another 16% think they don't go far enough. 17% thinks too restrictive. Then 64% say the restrictions on the size of public gatherings are appropriate right now. 22% say those are not restrictive enough. Just 14% feel that those are too restrictive, John.
These numbers are really interesting. 86%, if you do the math there, think that
That's the effects of not taking notes. Now, point 2. Stop telling lies. You tell way too much lies for someone who's seeking greatness, Donald. You tell way too many lies. You've got to tell the truth for those who come behind you to have the respect for you. So here are some videos of you telling your porkies. Enjoy.
Politics have become part of the pain of this pandemic. The president, who said COVID was nothing, is now spinning that all these deaths, over 60,000, that he said would never happen. All this death is a sign of success.
The testing and the masks and all of the things, we've solved every problem. Our death totals, our numbers per million people are really very, very strong. We're very proud of the job we've done. When somebody uses the word successful, I mean, it really has been successful. It's been very successful.
Sense perspective from how American voters are processing this, John. In the beginning of the year, the president said this is not a big deal. China is on it. My friend President Xi is on it. And Democrats are just hyping this to try to spook the stock market. Then the thing gets out of control, shuts down the economy. causes massive amounts of death. Then you switch gears and say, well, actually, this is China doing this on purpose to hurt me, to stop my reelection. Is that plausible? Maybe you can get some people who already support you to believe that, but can you get most people? Not likely. And if you look at the polls, 2/3 of the American people say the administration is behind the curve. They're losing in most of the swing states. They're in a difficult place, and it certainly looks like the administration is looking for a scapegoat as opposed to generally addressing the source of this and the solution to this.
All right, John Hart.
To say yesterday with regards to that report, seeming to confirm it.
I can tell you that there is a significant amount of evidence that this came from that laboratory in Wuhan.
Do you think they intentionally released that virus, or it was an accident in the lab?
I can't answer your question about that because the Chinese Communist Party has refused to cooperate with World Health experts.
Lesson 3. Think before you speak. As I said, think before you speak. Now, I've got some examples there for you, Donald.
Suggesting that ingesting a cleansing product into infected bodies would kill the virus. Where does he even come up with these ideas? Besides the pandemic, the world is dealing with an infodemic. Unproven remedies are being peddled as coronavirus cures. One leader may just be the torch.
Where did you get that from? So here we go. Here's a British-made bleach disinfectant called W5. We do not drink this, Donald, okay? Now I have the original bleach. Bleach cures and treats anything and everything, Donald, but we do not drink this. Now you have the Jamaican rum. Now, Donald, you didn't hear the Prime Minister of Jamaica tell people they can drink rum to cure coronavirus, did you? But guess what, Donald? You do drink this, but it doesn't cure corona. Now we move on to the famous Flash, Donald. Flash is a very safe disinfectant, but only a disinfectant, Donald. So remember, Donald, think before you speak. Fourth, but not last, you have grow up and stop blaming everyone else. It's come to my attention, Donald, that you are now blaming China. Come on, Donald. You've blamed the Obama regime. Then it turned out you destroyed the team that Obama put together to fight a pandemic such as this. So you stopped blaming him. You've blamed the Democrats and said they invented it to stop you from winning the election. Then you've blamed China. Then you've blamed the WHO. Then you've blamed China again. Then you said China were good guys. Then you blame China again. Then you blame the governors of the states, only because the numbers were higher than yours. Oh, Donald, you've got to grow up and take responsibility for your failures. You are a failure, Donald. Say to yourself, my name is Donald. My name is Donald. And I am a failure. And I am a failure. That's it, Donald. Fantastic. Now watch a few of your videos.
Is this basically an effort to kind of deflect any responsibility for how this coronavirus pandemic was handled? Because obviously we're seeing the death toll climb way past 60,000 now.
Oh, the administration is going to great lengths to try to absolve itself from responsibility for how this pandemic has exploded in the United States. Having said that, we have two regimes with credibility problems. Clearly, the Chinese have not been transparent, and Mike Pompeo was willing to let hang out there the idea that this virus might have been created in the lab, although it seemed to me the gist of his comments elsewhere in that interview was that it had been an accident. President Trump suggested the same last night in a town hall with Fox, where he said he thought maybe China was embarrassed about a mistake that occurred. In any event, the administration finds it politically useful to tag China as the source of the virus, to tag China for having concealed the severity of the virus as a way of explaining why they had not taken it seriously in the beginning. And they're also trying, and this is not a coincidence, to tie Joe Biden, the Democrat who's going to be President Trump's opponent in November, to tie him with being soft on China. So it's all a way at a time where the president's on the defensive, his poll numbers are down, to suggest that this is a problem that came from elsewhere, not from the administration.
And he gave Fox News an interview in which he said that he was being treated worse by journalists than Abraham Lincoln was. Let's listen.
They always said Lincoln, nobody got treated worse than Lincoln. I believe I am treated worse.
Okay, so he obviously the president is very, very focused on how he's portrayed in the media. It seems to be one of his primary concerns.
It's kind of striking, Hala, that while doing a town hall television event in one of the most hallowed monuments in the United States, that the president cast himself as the victim here. And he's done that consistently, saying that the press is out to get him, the Democrats are out to get him. That flows in the same direction of saying, well, the Chinese have inflicted this on us. The issue for the American people, the issue that we all have to deal with in our daily lives is the state of the pandemic now. And as for voters in the fall, they're going to have to judge, did the administration do a successful job in handling this? The president said last night, yes, they should judge me on that. We've done a spectacular job. Polls right now indicate the American people don't think he's done a spectacular job. All the governors handling this in the individual states have higher ratings than him. And we see in polling that 2/3 of the American people think that the administration was slow.
Oh, Donald, now we're down to the last one, and I really hope you've been taking notes. It's nearly finished. I know you've got a very short attention span, but please stay awake for this last one. Now, the last one, Donald, is admit you're a racist and beg forgiveness. Your racist cult will follow suit. So you've got to firstly, Donald, admit you're a racist. Then you've got to beg us to forgive you. And once we've forgiven you, and once you've begged forgiveness, then the rest of your mad entourage, from the Senate to the House of Reps, will then follow suit. And then the crazy governors will follow suit. And then all of those who think America is great again. But unfortunately, Donald, America isn't great again, are they? They are totally failing, Donald. You promised to make America great, but you haven't. So we can make you great again, Donald. You've just got to admit that you're racist, and you've got to beg our forgiveness, and then we'll think about forgiving you. But in the meantime, I hope you've learned something today. It's a long way to greatness, Donald, and you are very far from it. Very far from it. But I wish you luck on your quest for greatness. This is Anthony, homeschooling Donald Trump on 4th of May, 2020. Over and out. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
By April, in theory, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away.
People are getting better. They're all getting better. We're very close to a vaccine.
When you have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero, that's a pretty good job we've done. We're going down, not up. We're going very substantially down, not up. But we have it so well under control. I mean, we really have done a very good job. We're testing everybody that we need to test, and we're finding very little problem. Very little problem. Now, you treat this like a flu.